So in the last section, we actually built out the onboarding screen. So in this section, we are going to set up Google integration, so users will be able to log in using Google or sign up using Google. And after then, we are going to build some part of the root screen, which is the bottom navigation bar where they can now select to go into different pages. Okay, so this was where we stopped in the last meeting. And so now what I'm going to do is when users clicks on this icon, we're going to show them something else. Okay, so to do that, we have our authentication here, right? I think we don't need this model for authentication. We also don't need screens for authentication, right? We only need the provider. So here I'm going to create a Auth provider, okay? Right? So inside this Auth provider, two things are going to happen, right? Users should be able to sign in with Google, sign in with Apple, or sign out, right? Which is the Google and Apple, okay? So I normally create abstract class, okay, for things like this. So it will just like give me a structure of what we are to expect. And this, all of them are going to return a user credential, okay, for Google Auth and Apple authentication. So remember I told you before that we are not going to implement Apple sign-in, right? So it's something that you guys can do yourself. So we have the Auth provider, okay, and we have extends change notifier, right? And here we have to implement the app authentication. Okay, so now we need to import those the different implementations, right? So we have the Apple sign in, Google sign in, and the sign out. All right, cool. All right, so remember also we created an enum class that this is going to guide us when the user is the page is loading, when the page is idle, there's an error or there's a success response, right? So in order to call anything relating to our provider, we need to create an instance of that provider instead of the view state, and then in our UI we'll be listening to the changes. Based on that, you can show users different UIs. Okay, so we have our sign out, something just like we just need to sign users out from the app. But before, what we are going to do first is to sign out from Firebase and then sign out from Google Auth. Okay, so that's what this method is going to do. So just call sign out and make sure you make this asynchronous and import this guy. Okay, so just something simple that is happening here. All right, so moving on now to our Google sign in. I usually go to this site, Firebase. I usually go to this site. When you go to social auth, you're going to see the different things for Google. You are going to see Google Auth, you're going to see Facebook Auth, and I normally use this whenever I want to set up my authentication. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to just grab this one for signing with Google, right? So I'm going to go back to our screen, and right inside our signing with Google, make sure you make it asynchronous, right? And for some reason, I'm going to wrap this with try and catch because anything can happen, right? So I'm going to say my try. And inside here, we have to catch that error, okay? Because sometimes it might throw errors, so we need to be able to catch it. So paste what we just copied. This is a function. We need to remove this. We need to also remove this. Cool. So we have this guy now in place. So there's a way I normally handle it because users might open up the sign up flow, because if you notice in Google, most times when users open up this flow, right, and they click the provider that they want to log in with, if the pop-up, the dialog closes, there's still a little delay, right, before it will now take action and navigate users. So I want to avoid that. I want to keep showing a busy overlay even while that thing is showing until everything is settled, then we can move users to the right pages. Okay, the reason why I want to do that is so that users will not be able to interact with any other buttons while the stuff is still processing under. Okay, so we have our credential, right? And I'm going to create an auth response, which is this guy. I think this is an auth response. Okay, and I'm going to await it. Sign in with credential. We have this. Okay. So inside here, I'm going to check if Google Auth, which is this guy, is equal to null. So what I'm going to do is to set our view state equal to view state right, dot error. So there's an error because it's null. User did not select anything. Else, I'm going to say view state equal to view state dot success. So there was a nice response, and we can just call notify listener. All right. So this Auth response, you are wondering why we are not using it. What's happening? We are using it. We can just return Auth response. Okay. Cool. So the next thing again to do is inside here, when there's an error, we can now return view state.error, right? So we can show users proper error message, and then just call notify listener. Okay. And this is cool. It's looking pretty, but this return shouldn't be there. It should be inside here. All right. So we have our sign in with Google. We have our sign out. And the Apple sign-in is waiting for your implementation, okay? So we are going to move on to the next part where we have, but I think I can just help to, put in the logic that you will need for Apple sign-in in case you want to integrate it later. So it's just very simple. It's still the same thing as what we already have here. So if you go to your Apple Auth, you will see that we have to import the generate nouns, also the generate keys of SHA. So we can just think the sign-in signature, sorry. So we just have to import this random stuff, which is math. Import convert, and this one too needs to be imported, which is crypto. Remember, we added all those things in our dependency already. Okay. So now the next thing, feel free to make them private. So what I can do here now is just to grab this guy inside our Apple sign-in, okay? Put it here, and also try to make this guy synchronous, right? So we have our sign-in with Apple. Make sure it's imported, right? You can see the method still similar to what we have here, right? Ounces, we have the raw ounce, generate ounce, and everything, okay? So we have the Apple credential. We are also checking if it's null or not. Then we return success, else we return these values, and everything works as it should be. Okay, so it's still giving us the same thing. All right, so moving on now to our app, because you can just use this because the source code will be available, right? So you can just use this to integrate for your UI. So let's go back to our home page where we have the Apple Auth. So first of all, I need to go to main.dat. So inside here, I need to register the Auth provider, okay? Okay, once that is registered, I need to come here and create another Auth provider, and this is going to be Auth state, okay? So remember, we have a busy overlay widget inside here. I think if you go to our shared, all right, I can get that. Okay, we have a widget. All right, so busy overlay is not here. There's something I normally do when it comes to, I normally have this busy overlay that I use. So it's just something I use all through my app. So it's not, I will just grab it, okay, and just put it here. So we have a busy overlay. If you watch my previous video on the loan management app, you will notice that I also used this busy overlay, right? It's just more like something that shows up, more like a loader, okay? So everybody has different ways of handling loader, right? Things that relating to loaders, okay? So whichever way you want to do it, yeah, feel free to do it. So in my own case, I'm going to wrap it, right, with under this container, okay, and wrap it with the widget. We have a busy overlay. Then let's say I do show now and set it to true. You will notice how it shows here. You can see how it's showing. This is the work of the busy overlay. All right, but I don't want it to show anyhow. I want it to show when this Auth state, right, when this view state is busy. You can see here we are calling busy. Somewhere around here we are calling busy, right? So whenever it's busy, that's when we need to show the loader, okay? So I think I did not put that, which I need to do now. So we need to show the view state.busy, right? Then here I can just say when Auth state.viewState is equal to view state busy. All right, cool. So the next thing I need to do now is to validate the options and sign in with Google. I wait for the response and then take users to the right page. So inside here, I'm going to have something called wait. So this is definitely going to be an asynchronous call. So we have auth state dot Google sign in, right? So we need to wait for the response, right? So if auth state dot view state is equal to view state dot error, right? We need to say something like, let's say our app logger, we can just say error signing user in, okay? Error signing. Okay, let's just keep things short, okay? Then we can now return this, okay, if it's false. So users will have to like authenticate again. All right, then we can now have if the auth state is equal to success. So what we are going to do here now is to check if the contest dot, because if you notice we cannot use contest inside a sync block, right? So we need to first of all check if it's currently mounted, if the state is still mounted, and then we can now say contest dot go. So this is, we can just use this contest dot go now is now going to go to the main app UI, right, the main home page of the app. So in this case we can use the name as root, okay? But if we run this now, it's going to throw some error. The reason is because we have not created a screen called root, okay? So what I'm going to be doing now, I'm going to go to our root screen. If you notice, we have I think something around root screen wasn't okay. Yeah, we have our root screen, and we inside this screen I'm going to create root screen dot. So this is going to house our bottom navigation bar, okay? So here I'm going to create a stateful widget, and I'm going to call this a root screen, right? For now it's not registered, right? So let me just create something called a scaffold widget, and here we are going to have a body. Let me just use center for now. Let me just use a normal test widget, okay? Our home, right? So from here now, we are going to go back to our router, right, inside our config, and register a new route screen. So this is going to be root, and this is going to be our root screen, okay? So once we save that, now this can work properly, root. And then I'll also go back to our splash screen. So we need to validate when user is null or not, and then take them to the right screen. So let's go back to our splash screen. We are going to change this guy to this. So when Firebase auth.instance, the current user is not equal to null, we are taking them to the onboarding screen. But if they are null, we are taking them to the root screen, which is the wallpaper screen. So if you do a hot restart, you will notice it's still going to take us to the onboarding screen. Cool. So now let's return back to here. When we log in, it will definitely take us to the root screen. So let's try that out. So I'm going to click on Google. You can see now the stuff is showing up, and from there it's going to show me all the list of email addresses that I have. So here you can click on continue. All right, so you can select the default account you want to use, okay? Grant access. Now you can see once that dialog comes down, the please wait is still showing. After that, it will now take us to the screen, which is the root screen, where we are supposed to be. All right, guys, this is it for Google authentication. And in the next section, we are going to complete the bottom navigation bar, and now we are going to start the UI implementation for the admin. All right, thank you so much, guys, for watching. I'll see you in the next video.